Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopinana Vallabha Girivajadari Jaya Gopinana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajanananjana Yasodanandana Brajanananjana Yasodanandana Brajanananjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yagi ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Welches Nummer steht drauf? Ja. Was ist es heute? Ja, Montag ist. Last number I cannot hear. He's coughing. 314? 30, thank you. 30. 314, 30. Sagt sie. Ich schaff das. 314, 30. Ja. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 14, Pregnancy of Deity in the Evening, text number 30. Maitreya Uvacha Shaivam Samvidite Bhartra Manmatonma Titendri. Yeah, I'll do that again. That's all. Manmatonma Titendriya Jagraha Vasu Brahmashe Vrisaliva Gatatrapa Maitri Uvacha Shaivam Samvidite Bhartra Manmatonma Titendriya Jagraha Vasu Brahmarsir Vrisaliva Gatatrapa Maitreya Uvacha Shaivam Simvirite Bhartra Manmatonma Titendriya Jagraha Vasu Brahmarsir Vrisaliva Gatatrapa Ladies. Maitreya Uvacha. Maitreya said, Sa, she, evam, thus, samvidite, in spite of being informed, bhartra, by her husband, manmata, by Cupid, unmatita, being pressed, indriya, senses, jagraha, caught hold of, basaha, closing, brahmarishi, of the great Brahmana sage, Brisali, public prostitute, Eva, like, Gatatrapa, without shame. Translation. Maitreya said, Diti was thus informed by her husband, but she was pressed by Cupid for sexual satisfaction. She caught hold of the clothing of the great sage, just like a shameless public prostitute. Purport. The difference between a married wife and a public prostitute is that one is restrained in sex life by the rules and regulations of the scriptures, whereas the other is unrestricted in sex life and is conducted solely by the strong sex urge. Although very enlightened, Kasyapa, the great sage, became a victim of his prostitute wife, such is the strong force of material energy. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyanandana Salakaya Shakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah Sri Chaitanya Mano Bistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I thought before we get into the detail of this verse, I wanted to place it in some context. And in the context of it being of a different time than the time of today. We can, from the Ramayana, we can remember that at one point, Ravana began to realize that Ram was a mighty opponent. And so Ravana was looking for allies. And at one point, he went to Bali Maharaj, who was his ancestor. And he went to Bali Maharaj and he asked Bali Maharaj for help because he knew that Bali Maharaj was very powerful and so on. And so he went to the subterranean planets where Bali Maharaj resides in a very opulent palace. And he met Bali Maharaj and he asked Bali Maharaj to support him in the fight. So Bali Maharaj said, now I'm very old. So now it's too late for me to enter the fight. But what I can do is you come with me, I'll give you something. And he took Ravana with him into a room, and in that room there was a mountain of gold. So, Ravana's eyes lit up, gold and a mountain, right? So, and Bali Maharaj said, you can have this gold. So Ravana was very happy. And then Bali Maharaj said, what does this look like, this golden mountain, if you have a good look at it? Ravana said, it looks like a gigantic earring. Yes. And Ravana, then Bali Maharaj said, yes, this is the earring of Hiranyakasipu. Right? And you cannot even lift it. And Hiranyakasipu was defeated by Vishnu, and now you want to fight with Vishnu. So it is interesting how from the Satya Yuga to the Treta Yuga, there was such a difference. And in the Treta Yuga, Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha were such enormous, powerful demons, and that Ravana, who in his time, in the Treta Yuga, was so much more insignificant. Although from our perspective, the little insects from Kali Yuga, Ravana was a pretty powerful demon. So we put it all a little bit in perspective in this way. We're looking at the Satya Yuga. And we're looking, so in the Satya Yuga, yes, the behavior of deity was obviously something very much out of place. Very much. How was such a thing even possible? It was a time, her husband was a great sage, a Brahma Rishi, and she should have followed his instruction because he was qualified to instruct her. He was living by principles. He was a real Brahmana. He was not just living by the impulses of his mind and senses, like a Sudra would do. And of course, Kalo Sudra Sambhava, in this age everyone is a Sudra, and therefore everyone is normally living by the mind and the senses and their impulses. And but at that time, a great saintly personality who was very conversant with transcendental knowledge. So on the side of knowledge, the sage certainly did well, but on the side of having actually conquered material desire, there the sage did not do so well, because Diti came. Diti was afflicted by Cupid, and Cupid is formidable. We read that when Cupid appeared from Lord Brahma, Lord Brahma is the creator, and the creation manifests from Lord Brahma's mind and body, right? So the various elements manifest like that. So at one point this form manifested from Lord Brahma. And the next moment, everyone in the universe was affected. This Cupid was shooting arrows with flower heads. And these arrows with the flower heads, they were really intense. Because as soon as they touched the heart of anyone, immediately that person totally lost it. And he was shooting fast, everywhere, in all directions. And next moment, he also he got Brahma in the beginning, and then Brahma lost it. Even he became totally affected by Cupid, and Brahma, he was lost and got attracted to his own daughter and this and that. Anyway, so the power of Cupid is illustrated as being extraordinary. Diti, she was afflicted by the power of Cupid. And when the power of Cupid afflicts us, there is no reason. Intelligence doesn't work. So that was the situation. her husband had given good instructions and had explained, if we, yes, surely I will fulfill your desire, my dear wife, and I will give you a child, but not now, because this moment is the time that Lord Shiva is traveling with all the lower creatures to the sky, and if we will engage in sexual activities at such a time, will attract one of those living entities. We discussed when the male and female secretions unite, then just at that point a spirit soul is captured and enters into that substance, and there is a pregnancy. And shortly after, it is found out. Said, and then depending on the situation, oh my God, what are we going to do now? Or we have happy news, depending on the situation. Yes. And then, well, there we go. So Diti desired. Her sexual desire was also mixed with a desire for a child. So by modern standards, Diti would be very exalted and pious and nothing wrong. She approached her husband and she just grabbed him by his cloth and said, hey, anyway, these are the affairs of husband and wife, and what have we got to do with that? Normally say, that's up to them, you know what I mean? We stay out of that. But the Bhagavatam doesn't stay out of that, because what was transpiring was in a different yuga, and the standards were very high. So by the standards of her behavior, Diti was not acting according to Dharma. Diti was not acting according to transcendental knowledge. Diti was just acting according to the pushings of the senses and the mind, which were afflicted by Cupid. And as a result, that is the business of a prostitute. So as devotees also, we have to become again lifted up by this transcendental movement. Srila Prabhupada also writes, he says that by the influence of this movement, gradually the condition on the planet will change. And again, the influence of the age of Kali will become prevalent. Now, sometimes devotees, they get into it and they have some Kali Yuga Katha, Oh, Kali Yuga. Oh, it's Kali Yuga. Oh, Kali, Yuga, Yuga. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, the times are so degraded. Oh, look, how sinful are the people. Oh, look, all these things. So, yes, sometimes we talk about Kali Yuga because we see that. So, in this age of Kali, the principle of Dharma will be gradually reintroduced by the Sankirtan movement. And as a result, gradually by the chanting of Hare Krishna and by following the principles of Varnashram Dharma, society will change, and then by the influence of devotional service, tadara just tamo bhava kamalubhriyas chaye mata eviti tanvidistitam satprapasidati, then the influence of passion and ignorance will disappear to the point that humanity can again follow principles of goodness. And so the atmosphere on earth will become like Satya Yuga. And even a little better than Satya Yuga, because the focus is Krishna. Vyavasyatmika buddhirikaha kuranandana. The one-pointed attention will be Lord Krishna. So better than the Satya Yuga. That is the time to come by the result of this Sankirtan Yajna, because devotional service, tadara just tamo bhava, destroys the influence of passion and ignorance. Yes. So, this is the situation. What can we say and what can we do? So we are, in a sense, in the pioneer stage of this movement. Srila Prabhupada, in his purports in Srimad Bhagavatam, he calls this an emergency time. And he says, now in this emergency, we are making emergency brahmanas and emergency kshatriyas. Right? And in order so that we can lead society. That's all. So we are the emergency devotees, right? But we really are so devotional, I know, but we have been somehow or other burned enough by the material energy. We have been burned by the material energy to a point, kicked by Maya, where we said, no more, no more, no more. And then there was Srila Prabhupada, all effulgent. And then there he was, carrying his Bhagavatams. There he was, translating Bhagavad-Gita as it is. And there he lived life according to knowledge as it is, and wouldn't compromise it. The whole world said they went to the moon, and I saw it on TV. Akil also. You saw it? No? I saw. Oh, it was amazing. I mean, they were on the moon, and like before they actually landed, they were going in an orbit, and then they would lose the control center of NASA. But then they would come in the vision of China or in the vision of Russia, and all the countries, they were cooperating. And it was a moment where mankind was united. It was so beautiful and touching. And then this great moment appeared, The space capsule landed on the moon, and the astronauts were on the moon, and they were jumping around, and it was just a great celebration. Yay, mankind! We were all on the moon, everyone. Not only these astronauts, we were with them. We were on the moon. It was a glorious moment. And Prabhupada said, all rubbish. Huh? What? But Prabhupada, we have seen on television. No, all rubbish. But Prabhupada, how can you say, how do you know that all of this is rubbish? Because in Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that the moon is further away than the sun. They didn't go to the moon. But Prabhupada, of course, nowadays, we are finding that there are videos around, and I have one somewhere, or you'll find it on YouTube, where it shows that the shadows of the movie of Man on the Moon are on the wrong side. In one place, sun from one side and shines back, shadow will be behind, but shadow is not behind. How is that? Something fishy is there. Then they said that the rocks that they found on the moon were just like the rocks in the desert of Arizona. And Prabhupada said, that's where they made the movie. See? Yes. Yes. People that lie, they sometimes give too much information. Then they get caught. Well. So all this, Prabhupada stood there, courageous, ready to stand up against the world opinion. He didn't care. He didn't care. He was just ready to give it as it is. And that is why people developed faith in Srila Prabhupada. That's right, confirmed. So, Prabhupada's example. Prabhupada was always Krishna conscious at every moment. And therefore, everyone was convinced he is a pure devotee. And so, therefore, there was faith. It is faith that can make us do things that we otherwise wouldn't be able to do. The Vedic scriptures are explaining that the nature of the living being is anandamay vyasat, that the living being is by nature pleasure-seeking. Yes, it doesn't matter. We human beings, oh yes, we are pleasure-seeking. Hey, hey, are you ready? Hey, hey, are you ready? Hey, hey. Pleasure-seeking, oh yes, let's go. Not only are we pleasure-seeking, the cows in the fields, right? My God, they're enjoying, right? They're not just eating grass. No, no, no. They're relishing, you know. These cows, they eat with great taste. You can look at them. I mean, there's so many cows here. I was looking at them and see them eating all the time. First of all, they eat the whole day, right? Non-stop. They eat. That's what they do. A cow eats. A cow eats and gives milk. That's about it, if you really look at it. They don't do anything. They just eat. But not just sort of like, okay, what are we having today? Guess what? It's grass. We have been having grass yesterday. We've been having grass, for the whole year. Can we have something else? No, no, no. They love their grass, They, with enthusiasm, very enthusiastically eating the grass. Yes. So they're enjoying like anything. I mean, well, imagine that you would have like a whole field full of a very tasty preparation. So the cows are definitely into sense gratification. Oh yes, life is about grass. In Australia, you got koala bears, You know about the koala bears, right? You heard about them, seen pictures of them. They hang in the trees, right? You know what trees they're hanging in? In the eucalyptus trees, right? Yes. And Australia is full of them, eucalyptus trees. And what do? These koalas, they hang in the trees and they chew on the eucalyptus leaves. Now, eucalyptus is pretty strong stuff. I don't know if you're aware of it, but you use some eucalyptus oil, the whole room is like strong smell. It just, they say it's antiseptic. Prabhupada is using eucalyptus twigs to brush his teeth. Right? And the eucalyptus leaves make you stoned. Right? So you can see what these koala bears are all about. They're hanging in the trees. How are you, Mr. Koala Bear? Hey. So they're into sense gratification. The whole world, everywhere, is trying to enjoy. And yes, anandamay vyasat, so the living being is pleasure-seeking, and wherever we think that pleasure can be found, that's where our faith goes. When we think it's in money, then money is the honey.
And money, money, money is the honey, and I want the money. Hey, 'cause money makes you happy, and money is, now you're talking. It's money. Yeah, money, money.
Yeah. Or if you think it is sex, then you say, hey, my name is Gigolo. Yes. Huh? Oh, yes. Gigolo. Yes. Baby. Hey, baby. Yes. And like this. Whatever we think will give us happiness. That is where our faith will go. And that's it. So people have deposited their faith in so many things. There's this maniac driving around in the neighborhood on this motorbike at like ridiculous speeds. I mean, not just fast, but outrageous insanity, right? Suicidal speed, right? And when he's coming, you want to get off the road, right? I encountered him now a couple of times. I got an ear out for him, right? Yes, he believes in speed freak. Happy, I'm free, until splotch, yeah. That's so. People have deposited their faith in so many things. Their faith for happiness, in foolish things, in stupid things, but when we see a pure devotee, and we see a pure effulgent devotee, yes, then suddenly new hope wakes up in our heart. Oh, I've tried everything. I did it all. Heard it all, done it all, seen it all. Yeah, that's my t-shirt. I've tried it all, but, I just can't get no satisfaction. I was just not happy. I was not happy. Frustrated. Parabhavastavat abodhajatu. Na yigyasita atmatatvam. Those who are not inquiring into the absolute truth will always be defeated. They'll be a failure. Oh yes, showing off to the neighbors. Oh, we're doing so well. My son is a doctor. Yes. Oh yes. And by the way, yes, and my daughter, a chartered accountant. And oh yes, she's now having her second baby. Oh yes, but it's no problem because the maid, they have a good maid, so she can still carry on with her career. Oh yes, she's coming up in the department. Yes. She works for the government, Oh yes. Oh really? Oh well, yes, we're buying a new house. Oh really? Oh yes. And what about how's your son doing? Yeah, he's doing fine. What's he doing? Well, it's a long story, but he joined the Hare Krishnas. Oh, well, as long as he's happy, I guess, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, gosh, how am I going to explain this to my friends, Oh, God, this is the worst thing of all. The worst thing, the thing I dread the most is when they ask me, how is your son or daughter? And, oh, God, what am I going to tell them? They're a Hare Krishna. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yes. Oh, it's terrible. Because my son and my daughter, they are actually meant for my enjoyment. Oh yes, they add to my glory. They are part of me. Listen, you child, you are part of me, and you are meant to bring glory to your father. You understood? You ungrateful wretch, and therefore thou shalt study. And this is the first commandment. thou shalt study. And the second of commandments, until thou drops. And thou shalt not stops until one has thy PhD, right? To bring glory to thy Father. Yes, amen. And so the prayer goes. And so materialism is existing. But this is all showing off for the neighbors. Because here is the big successful family. Big house. Big cars. Big garages. Big everything. And then big problems. Big problems. Daddy doesn't love mommy. Daddy is a businessman, and he is going with his friends, to the Hilton Hotel. And interesting now, I saw the Hilton Hotel, and just in front of the Hilton Hotel, they had on the street lights, they had little signs, and there was the curve of the silhouette of a girl. The line, just the line like that, but clearly, the silhouette, and under it a phone number. And I'm walking past, the Hilton Hotel, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, and I see that sign, and first I'm sort of like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and then I'm suddenly saying, what am I seeing there? I mean, is this what I think it is? It surely is what I think it is. It's for the customers of the Hilton Hotel. Oh, the number is right there. Yes. Just ring there. Because that's what it's like in business, right? We travel. Oh, it is so hard to work from home. No, really. It's too much to work from home. It drives me nuts. I mean, what will I do now? All this business travel that we had, for important meetings that we now do on Zoom, But what will I do? Now my girlfriend is waiting for me, and I can't visit her anymore. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This lockdown is too much. It is too difficult. So it's not such a success family after all. Although to the rest of the street, it's the biggest house and they really look like they've made it. Whoa. But the truth of the matter is there are many skeletons in the closet. Isn't it? That's how it is. Yes. So, and then comes Prabhupada. And he knows it all. At a glance. At a glance. He can see right through the false facade. He can see you are not happy. He can see you are just showing off. You're not a success. You are a failure. You don't know. You don't know. And so Prabhupada was not intimidated. One professor came and just a professor of Hinduism, Ravindra Sarup, brought him. And Prabhupada, he said, "Oh, you are a professor of Hinduism." Prabhupada said, "What is the definition of Hinduism?" The professor says, "That's hard to say." Then said, "You are a professor of Hinduism, but you cannot give a definition?" And then Prabhupada said, "This is my disciple, Sarup Damodar. He is also a PhD. Sarup Damodar, what do we call that? Cheating, Prabhupada. Cheating, right? Within moments after that, it turned into a huge fight. A big fight going up and down. And it got very serious, until finally Brahmananda, who used to be a wrestler before Krishna consciousness and who was enormous. So Brahmananda came up to the professor and said, "You'd better get out of here before you make more offenses." And the professor saw the size of the man, and he saw he was serious, and he just left. He just left. Ravindra Sarup, who brought the professor, apologized to Prabhupada, and Ravindra tells the story. And Ravindra says that about some 20 years later, he met that professor again somewhere. And the professor said, "Do you remember when I met A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami?" And Ravindra was cringing. He said, "Oh no, now we're going to get it." And the professor said, he was right. After 20 years, the professor admitted that he was right. Yes. Cheating, Prabhupada. Cheating. He doesn't know. And some academics would call Prabhupada dogmatic. And they say, how can he be so dogmatic that he says that Krishna is the only way? That Krishna is God. How can he be so dogmatic? There are so many different religions in the world, and we should, accept each other. And then there's this A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami who just says, no, only Krishna. I mean, they are most dogmatic, these people, very dogmatic. And Prabhupada said, how can they so dogmatically say that Krishna is not God when they haven't seen him? Oh. Yes. How can they? And that's a good point, right? They haven't seen Krishna, and that's settled that. Because Prabhupada is seeing Krishna, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as a result, Prabhupada was not defeated. Prabhupada was not impressed by any false facade, Oh, but he's very rich, this man. There's a big man coming, Prabhupada saw him for what he was. He's not a big man. In Mayapur, a big man came. Big factory owner. Oh, yes. What? Prabhupada says, oh, yes. What kind of factory you have? Glass. And Prabhupada said, oh, okay. Where are you getting the ingredients to make the glass? What do you make it from? He said, oh, from silicium. Prabhupada said, where are you getting silicium? He said, from sand. From sand. And Prabhupada said, and from where are you getting the sand? And because the man was speaking to a sadhu and it's India, he says, from God. Prabhupada said, that's right. The sand is the property of God. And you're taking it and selling it in the market, you're taking it, changing it a little, and selling it and keep all the profit. You are nothing but a thief. You are a thief. I mean, here's a big rich man and everybody is like, yes, sir, welcome, sir. Thank you for coming to our temple, sir. Please have a seat, sir. Are you comfortable? And we'll personally show you around, sir. And here is the temple and these are the deities, sir. And would you please be seated? We have bring little prasad, sir. Yes. Huge plate, it's a really rich man. Okay, sit him down and somehow or other, sweet talk him and hope he's gonna sign the big check. Yes. And Prabhupada doesn't care. Prabhupada simply says, you are a thief. Because you're keeping everything, you take from Krishna and keeping everything yourself. And this is scripture, stena gada brita, that everyone is a thief in the material world because they don't give back to Krishna. And then here is Prabhupada, and he's not keeping for himself. Oh, the journalist would come and say, oh, I heard that you arrived in a Rolls Royce. And Prabhupada said, yes. It is the duty of the disciples to offer the best to the spiritual master, because the spiritual master is the representative of God. So a Rolls Royce, they picked you up in a Rolls Royce. Prabhupada said, yes, it wasn't good enough. It should have been a golden Rolls Royce. Right? I just said, like, wow. Some of the journalists were writing, golden Rolls Royce. Yes. Anything else? And Prabhupada said, yes, I have many cars. The journalists are writing, Swami says he has many cars. He says, yes, I have many cars all over the world. Many cars all over the world. This is getting, they could see the article. Ooh, Swami exposed, And Prabhupada said, yes, I have many cars all over the world. And my disciples, they are traveling in these cars. And they go from town to town, from village to village. And they're everywhere distributing this transcendental knowledge. The journalist didn't write that down. Said, there's no story in that. Right? God, now he looks like a saint. We just thought that we had him, But now he looks like a saint. Yes, he looked like a saint because he was a saint. And therefore, they couldn't get him. Even they had to admit, yes, here's a saint. Everyone could see he actually is a real saint. And he just was humble. So it is by this faith, because his example, that we can make the change. And that we can see we're getting out of this crazy life. It's a Saturday night and you ain't got nobody and you drink a few too many and then you wake up Sunday morning next to a stranger. And then you think, oh my God, what happened? Right? And you don't know. That's miserable. Or you knock on the door of the dealer and his big Doberman pinscher is growling at you while you're getting your little strip of whatever rubbish, right? You want to have. Or you pop some pills, right? And then, then there will be more pills after that to deal with the pills, and so on. So, too much, but I'm on methadone now, and I do a lot better. No, really, I mean, I went through a dip at one point. I never thought it would happen to me, but somehow or other, there it was. H. The needle. In the arm, in every place where there was no vein left. Some are shooting here, some are shooting in the leg, because once you got a habit, right, then you got to work the veins. And at one point, the veins get all swollen and infected. And the dose has to be stronger. And then there's an overdose. I know these things because I'm from Amsterdam. And yes, somehow or other, there was a big squat house next door, a big building full of, and there was always an overdose, and it would come, I don't know why they would come to me, but they could see I was practical. They'd come to me, say, please, there's an emergency, do something. And I'd call the ambulance and this and that, and ship them off to the hospital. Yeah, what to do? So, people are defeated. And maybe I've given a few, you might say, extreme examples, but you'd be surprised how many extreme examples are there. And maybe some of you have also been there. Have also been there on what they call the wild side. Some of you, may have also been on the wild side. Yes. So many songs about the wild side. Take a walk on the wild side. Born to be wild, like a true nature child. All on the wild side. Yes, and but what did the wild side bring? Defeat. Defeat. And even India is going wild. Yes, yes. It is also going wild. So, Diti went wild. And the result of going wild is that she was going to have some babies. Oh, yes. And these little babies were going to be twins. And they were going to be Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha. And before their birth, just before, it started to rain bones and blood and pus from the sky. Is it an omen of what is to come? So, we may not have such big demons, because with the Yuga, the size becomes smaller, so we may have little demons. My little demon. Oh, I don't know what to do. This child is hitting his head. He's hitting his head on the table. I'm desperate. What is wrong with him? Maybe we should see a psychologist. Really? No, I don't know what's wrong with him. It's a little demon. But how can this be? Right? I mean, because you didn't do the Kabatana Sanskara. It's out of control, I mean, like, maybe we should send him to a special school for children with learning difficulties, It's like, and so on. Where do all the problem children come from? Where does it all come from? Why so many drugs in society? Alcohol, why so much, Why? Oh, Father, please, don't drink no more. Shut up. The alarm number can be called. Why are there so many alarm numbers? Yeah. Lately, I'm having trolls on the internet. When I'm giving lectures, and they try to tell me nasty things. They're very nasty, Anyway, happy trolling, right? But trolling doesn't make you happy. Right? We're not. We know that without Krishna there's defeat, and we know that with Krishna, when there's faith, the impossible can be done. And we are doing the impossible. We, now all of us, the Daichas, the Dutch, all of us, right? The barbarians, right? There's like the Romans would call us the Barbara, right? And we're still known as barbarians. We are from barbarian stock. Yes. And now, Kirata Nandra Palinda Pulkasa, Abira Samba Kasadia, Yen Sapapa Yatapusriya Sriya. All those people from all over the world who've taken shelter of sinful behavior, the Kiratas, the Hunas, the Kiratu Andhra, Kiratas Africa, the Hunas is, as we know, sort of this part of the world, and the Andhras, South India, Pulindas in Greece, the Abiras is pretty obvious who they are. The then
the Khasas, the Chinese, by then you've covered almost the whole planet. Right? Who's not? But Shujanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. But they can also be purified by the association of a pure devotee, because they'll get faith. And where there's faith, miracles can be done. And now, I'll end in a moment, but I'll just end with this. Now, we are following 4 regulative principles. I mean, look at these 4 regulative principles. No meat, fish or eggs, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. I mean, is that something the whole world can follow? I mean, let's be real. Or is that for a few exceptional people who have some special karma to be monks or something and nuns, you know? But ordinary people, can they do this? Nah, it doesn't look like it. How can the world, who is always afflicted by Cupid, oh yes, Cupid, Cupid, I'm stupid, but I'm with Cupid, Cupid, right? Oh yes, I don't care. I want to enjoy now. I don't care. Oh, Mr. Priest, go away and get you with all your moralistic instructions. Go away, Mr. Priest. I don't want to hear. I know it's stupid, but I'm with Mr. Cupid. You got it? Yes. So in this way, we are somehow or other in this situation. But the pure devotee gives us faith. And because of that faith, we are all following the 4 regulative principles. Some may struggle a little, but over a whole, that's what we do in this movement. It's a miracle. So when there's faith in a pure devotee, miracles start to happen. It's a miracle. If I look at myself in the mirror and say, it's a miracle. It's a miracle what I'm doing. How is this possible? You don't know, but I know. Me, you know. I'm doing this? How is it possible? Some of my old friends would also say, you? You know? Yeah. Me. Why did this happen to me? Not because of my credit, but simply because of a pure devotee. It is just that. Right? Because, then we can have faith. So, therefore, everyone should first of all make a deep relationship with Srila Prabhupada, because all the faith is resting on him. I'm also an initiating spiritual master in the Sampradaya, number 34. Prabhupada is 32. I'm 34 in the disciplic succession. That's all nice, you know. So I got my stars and stripes and so on. But when I ask someone that follow 4 regulative principles, chant 16 rounds, and then I can guarantee that if they do so and follow that faithfully, that they can go back to Godhead. That I can guarantee, but not on the strength of my own knowledge. I can guarantee it because Prabhupada guaranteed it. That's it. Prabhupada said 16 rounds, minimum, 4 regulative principles. You follow faithfully, you can go back to Godhead. So, then I can say, yes, follow this and you can go back to Godhead. And all by Prabhupada's, and Prabhupada's prayer is there. You know, as I give you the beats, I'm not only giving you the beats, I'm giving you the beats with my prayers. I'm giving the beats with Prabhupada's prayers. I'm giving the beats with Bhaktisiddhanta's prayers. I'm giving the beats with the prayers of the whole parampara. That's why it works. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. Right? But because Prabhupada is there as the immediate link with the previous acharyas, that's why
The whole thing works. And miracles can be done. And all of us can surprise ourselves. See? We can do what we never thought we could. If we just take up this Krishna consciousness, we can surprise ourselves. And some might say, the very last thing, some might say, well, yeah, you say that, but I mean, reality is not as easy as you say, you know what I mean? I tell you privately that I've been struggling a lot, I mean, I find it like almost impossible, and the miracle didn't happen. Actually, my whole spiritual life is just a big failure. I mean, I won't tell everybody, but you were saying in the material world people are a failure, but I'm a spiritual failure because I can't chant 16 rounds and I can't follow four regulator principles, and I try and I cry and I cry, but I just can't do it. And then somehow or other, I'm only still here because I got nowhere to go. No, you're not only here because you got nowhere to go. You're here because you have no faith in anywhere else to go. Maybe it's still difficult to follow everything, granted, can be, but still your faith keeps you here. It is the faith that keeps you here. So, you're one of us, even the one whose feet are slipping on the path, Durgame Patimendasya, is still one of us. Stay close, and by the Vaishnava's support, it will all come right. It will all come right. You will chant 16 rounds, even if it is on the day that you die, right? And even if you don't, you'll remember Krishna. You'll remember Krishna at the end of life because you've been trying your whole life. So don't cry, just try and carry on in Krishna consciousness, following four regulated principles and chanting 16 rounds. Miracles will happen. Thank you very much. Any questions? Any comments? Yes, Monsieur Revati Nandan from New Mayapur, our guest. But he was not a pure devotee. He was a sage, but he's not a pure devotee. He was in the mode of goodness. He was following the Vedic literatures. He obviously had knowledge of Brahman. He was a Brahma Rishi, but he was not absorbed. Kashyapa was not absorbed in love of God. Hiranyakasipu, what about him? The son of Prabhupada. Oh, you mean that the son of a devotee may not turn into a devotee? Yes, Advaita Acharya's sons did not all become devotees. The jiva still has independence. The jiva always has independence. So they may get all the opportunity. One can take the horse to water, but the horse still has to drink. So we all we can turn away from Krishna even. What? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what problem? We can even turn away from Krishna because we have independence. We can do that, and we can misuse. So if the horse, we bring the horse to the water, but then the horse has to drink. That's why with these Bhagavatam classes to say, all right, horses, here's the water. Now drink. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. Drink this Srimad Bhagavatam through the ears. Drink it. But the Bhagavatam stands on the bookshelf, and it's still in the plastic in which we bought it. We never took it off. So yes, this is the minute independence of the living being, and the living being can misuse, even after receiving all the blessings. Just see. Just see. Anyway, yes. No, not that I know. I have not heard that. No, I haven't heard that he came in any Sampradaya. From what I recall, the biographers never found out about that. They just reconstructed Prabhupada's life in biographies by interviewing people as much as they could, right? So the whole team of interviewers that went around and dug up, and then whatever memories people have, some things Prabhupada told. So that we never heard. So since Prabhupada didn't really emphasize that, maybe it wasn't the case. But then Prabhupada also speaks about families who are devotees, right, in India, and that they were part of the Malik family, and the family was a family of the family was worshipping Krishna, right? They had Radha Govinda deities in the Radha Govinda temple in the street, and they were all worshipping, and once a year, Prabhupada's family, his parents, would take him to a mela of the birthday of Udarandatta Thakur. Udarandatta Thakur is one of the great associates of Lord Nityananda, one of the ecstatic, liberated devotees of Lord Nityananda, who assisted Lord Nityananda in preaching all over Bengal. And Prabhupada explains that, he says, yes, we came in that family lineage of Udarandatta Thakur. And every year we would go to that place. And every year we would practice, we would celebrate there. So Krishna consciousness was deeply rooted in the family, deeply rooted, right? It was so maybe it came from that way, since we never heard anything about Prabhupada. If he would have been initiated, probably Prabhupada would have mentioned it. Maybe not, but most likely he would have. So I suspect that it was just the Vaishnava culture in the family. Any other question? Yes. It's a little louder because you're far away. In developing a relationship with Srila Prabhupada, is it more important to read books by Srila Prabhupada or books about Srila Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada said that of all his books, especially Srimad Bhagavatam was the most important. And he said that Srimad Bhagavatam should be in every house on the planet. The Bhagavad-Gita is the summary of Vedic knowledge, and the same knowledge of the Bhagavatam is in the Bhagavad-Gita, but the difference is that the Bhagavatam gives us detailed descriptions about Krishna. Then the Nectar of Devotion is a book that actually elaborates on the Bhagavad philosophy, and it quotes the Bhagavatam the most. And then we get the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it is the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is living the life according to the Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam is the central scripture in our movement. Then, on one occasion, one person asked Prabhupada a question after the lecture, and the question was about the Bhagavatam, and said, is Jeanne d'Arc, or Joan of Arc, and I don't know what you call her in German, but Jeanne d'Arc, is she also in the Bhagavatam? Joan of Arc, they say in America. Is she also in the Bhagavatam? And of course we know Jeanne d'Arc, a famous saintly lady in the French history. And so, is she also in the Bhagavatam? And Prabhupada says, eh? And then he says, yes. The life of the devotee is also Bhagavatam. So, the biographies about Srila Prabhupada are also Bhagavatam. So the Prabhupada Lilamrita and these other biographies are also Bhagavatam. So we can read them and appreciate that the potency of these descriptions about Srila Prabhupada are equally potent as the descriptions in Srimad Bhagavatam. That is actually the correct understanding. Yes? Huh? Akila Prabhu confirms. Okay. Yes, please, a comment. We have heard several times that the activity of the soul is to desire. Well, the soul in the body, as we know, there are 5 factors for each action, right? In the Bhagavad-Gita. And it is said that is the individual, then there's the endeavor, the place of action, and one more, okay. No, that's the last one. I'm trying to get the 5th one is the super, and the 4th. Place of action, the endeavor, the individual, the time, and then finally there is the super soul. And it said of all of these, the super soul is the most important. Super soul is the most important. I'm a little unsure about that time, but I think it's the time. But maybe I'm wrong. I have to double check. But the super soul is the most important. Most important. Because without the super soul, we can't do anything. Whatever power we have, that I can lift my finger, Krishna allows me to lift a finger, and that I even have a finger in the first place. It's all given by Krishna. So everything we have is a gift from Krishna. And that we can do yoga means that Krishna has given us a body, and then we can do. Otherwise, and if Krishna takes it away, then even the yogi suddenly loses all his flexibility and becomes as stiff as a wooden plank. Yes, depending on Krishna. So in that sense, yes, we desire, and Krishna either fulfills or frustrates that desire. It's like a horse. The horse wants to run, and you have it on the reins. So Krishna is managing this horse. And say, well, this horse has all this passion, it wants to run. All right, let it run a little bit. So I'll fulfill its desire for sense gratification for a while. And then I start frustrating it again and pull the reins tight again. In this way, Krishna sometimes gives us some opportunity to enjoy our senses. Other times he pulls it tight. So it's our desire, and Krishna just gives us the facility for that device. Karmana daivane trena, according to our karma, and then there's the divine arrangement of Krishna. And that's material life. Okay, we are done. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. No, 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 no. I can do it. It's not that bad.